Hi, I'm Tori, and today I'm going to be discussing the book Grave Visions by Kalayna Price. I listened to the audiobook narrated by Emily Durante. This is the fourth book in the Grave Witch series, and at this point I can't really tell you anything about it without giving parts away, so if you want to read this wonderful series, go do that and then come back to hear my opinions. So I had a lot of fun with this book. It seemed like more fun to me than the third one. And I think that was probably because we're getting a lot more comfortable with Fairy. You know, at first it seemed like this horrible, terrifying place. And now Alex is so much more comfortable there. And it doesn't seem quite as dangerous. Like, it's still dangerous, but you can function there. And it's not just this deadly, horrible place with no benefits whatsoever. The Queen of the Winter Court was also much more enjoyable in this book. She is still very cruel and still a villain, but she's a villain that you can work with, and she's not all-powerful. And I actually really enjoyed all the scenes that she was in. The mystery in this book was really interesting. I loved the whole plot with glitter and how they were draining the fairies from the court and the hallucinations that were coming to life. That all seemed so fascinating. And I guess the whole reason for that was to make another door to Fairy, and that's what the bogeymen were guarding. And, you know, in this one, we spent most of our time chasing after the one guy who was, you know, in Fairy, and Alex had the final showdown with at the end. But I'm thinking that Jenny will be a much bigger character probably in later novels, and will come back and she'll still be guarding that tree. And she will still be trying to make some extra portal to Fairy for very bad reasons. I did have a hard time keeping track of the Shadow Courts and Nightmare Courts for some reason. I know they're different and they used to be the same and they split apart, so it makes sense that they have some similarities. But I could never remember which court her father was trying to get her to join, and which court she knew the king in, and which court she knew the guy who was her betrothed in. So I had a little bit of a hard time keeping those straight, but it was still very fun to kind of... Alex is getting so much more comfortable, and she's capable of, like, going from court to court and summoning different members of Fairy and talking to them and just kind of interacting with the whole world. So that just made this book so much more enjoyable than the last one. It was kind of fun to watch all the subplots with her friends. You know, Tamara's wedding was really cute, the way that it was destroyed, and the whole time she hadn't been sure if her fiancé really did love her and want to marry her, and so it ended up being really good that her wedding was ruined, because then they were able to talk about some stuff, and I think that will probably lead to a much better life for them. So that was cute how, you know, it was sort of Alex's fault that the wedding got ruined, but it was a good thing that it got ruined because it strengthened her friend's marriage. The whole idea of Alex fading was really interesting, but I guess that kind of makes sense. The whole court system sounds terrible, so if there wasn't some major consequence for not participating, then way more people would do what Alex is doing and just not do anything. Though I don't quite understand how independents work, because, like, you're only granted independent status if the monarch in the realm that has dominion over that spot of the mortal realm grants you permission. But then the monarchs can use that to just control you like crazy. So basically there are a few monarchs in Fairy and they just get to control everything, I guess, which doesn't seem super great, and I'm hoping that that will change. And I know Alex will find some way to stay independent. She'll probably end up becoming the monarch of a realm, honestly, by the end of this series. But it was very nice that she managed to get her 1-year extension, and that also helped her work better with the queen, so that should make residing in the Winter Court's domain easier for her from this point on, maybe. The only thing I didn't really like about this book was Alex's whole relationship with death. She's never been good at committed relationships, so she'd have some problems. But these aren't just normal, like, I'm learning how to have a relationship problems. These are, I don't actually love the guy I'm dating problems. And, you know, whenever she refers to death, she always says, he's my oldest friend. And whenever she has a problem, she wants him to stay away and she'll just handle it. And she's not really in love with him. She loves him as a friend, but she doesn't really want to be dating him, and I wish she would figure that out very soon so she could save them both the heartache and stop torturing him. You know, it's always been, will it be death or will it be Phelan? And it will obviously be Phelan, because, like, when she has issues she needs to take care of, she goes to Phelan, and they work really well together as a team. And even when he's under orders from the queen to be as horrible to her as possible, and all these things happen, she still trusts him more than it seems like she trusts death. And so I wish she could just figure out that she shouldn't really be with death, and that she would break things off instead of just stringing him along and being so horrible to him. You know, there was that whole question of whether or not he was in fairy at the end. When she had the glitter in her system at the very end of the book, she was hallucinating that Death was there, and he was walking around yelling all the things that she's insecure about their relationship. So at least she knows now that she has lots of things she needs to talk to Death about, and that they don't have a very open, trusting relationship, and she should really work on that. And then it was interesting at the end there, when she was almost to die, it sounded more like the real Death than the hallucination Death. So I'm wondering if, since she's a plane weaver, that means that she can actually let Death into fairy, which would be so cool, because no one else can. And it'd be so nice for all the fae, too, who are trapped there, because Death can't get into fairy, you know. Dying in fairy sounds absolutely horrible. So if Alex can somehow plane weave Death in there, then he could come and collect all the fae, and that would be very, very nice. So I look forward to seeing how all of that turns out in the next book. So this book was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it very much, and I can't wait to read the next one.